I'm Sergeant Kelly Palmer. I'm in Lincolnshire Police. I'm the Louth Neighbourhood Policing Team Sergeant. I've been in the force since July 2006. I started my life in the police as a PCSO, and I then joined the police in November 2007. So I think that makes me nearly 18 years in the police. I'm from a policing family, so my dad was a police officer in the Knox area from 1966 to 1986. Lived in a police house, so it's sort of within the family environment basically. And yeah, so I joined on the basis of that. It's almost like watching, I describe it as Titanic. Like where we are now, it's like basically watching a ship go towards an iceberg and you can't do anything to stop it. It's from when I first started to now, it's ridiculously different. When we first started, I felt that as an officer, we were allowed to make decisions. And now I feel like we're not allowed to make decisions anymore. In that everything's made for us, like, so criming things, so CMB and things like that. If we don't crime things in a particular way that they want us to crime things, they will then decide, well, no, it's not that crime, it's this crime. Despite the fact that we go to that crime and we're the ones on the ground. I feel that paperwork wise we're drowning in it, and that we're ultimately becoming more of a force that are a desk force rather than being out and about. From a Lincolnshire point of view, we're really struggling with the monetary money stuff going on at the moment. We're the least funded force in the country, and it's a postcode lottery for me now that we can't give the victims the service that they need to be given. We're struggling, really struggling. Morale is very low. In the past, it was always that you come in and things were difficult and you had loads of work, but morale was high and you felt supported. And you felt like you were doing a good job. Whereas now I think the landscape's changed in that I feel like we're hit from every side, in that we get constant criticism from the public. I don't think the government supports us particularly well. The media continually after us. And from within our own ranks, there's just constant bickering. Everyone's fighting for survival. Like every department's strapped for people, so everyone's, I call it, has got their elbows out and is fighting for space. Yeah, I don't think anybody in the police force at the moment, I think it's being held together almost with like blue tack at the moment. It's been held together with people's goodwill, and the people that are in at the moment, everyone wants to do their best, but are completely up against it. And it's sad. It's really, really sad to see, because I've had a colleague say to me, like, literally they could cut me through the middle and I'd be yellow and blue all the way through me, because I'm a policing family, from a policing background, and yet it just makes me hang my head. Literally every single day I come into work, I feel like we're battling against the courts. I feel like we're battling against civil courts, criminal courts, internally, and I just don't see it getting any better, if I'm being honest. I just feel like it's not seen as a career job anymore. It's seen as a few years. I've never known it where people have gone during their 2 years, and we're losing people during our 2 years now. And it's just, yeah, it's really, really difficult. It's really, really sad as well, because it's ultimately like a place that I have loved and enjoyed being in. I can remember my dad locking people up and coming to the police house, and everyone in the village that we worked in knew my dad and knew who he was, and it just doesn't happen anymore. Yeah, I think that's a bit of a ranty one, but yeah. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Demoralised, I think the word is. Demoralised, lacking morale, lacking motivation, and I can see that in every single colleague within the force at the moment. There's not many people who are happy because of how attacked I feel we are at times. Because we used to be supported by the public. Public don't really support us anymore. They do, but we don't. Like, everything we do wrong is picked up on. Everything we do right is undervalued. Morale has a huge impact on everyone. Is fatigued, really fatigued. Like when the government are putting stuff out about, oh, we've got this amount of extra cops to do X, Y, and Z. We haven't got this amount of extra cops. You've got cops who are doing overtime until they're literally falling to pieces and are exhausted and knackered, and people can't cope. People just can't cope, basically. They're like, I'm seeing good colleagues who in the past would have been really resilient, literally falling apart because of the pressure that is on them. And if you've got a workload of 50 plus and you're going from job to job to job to job to job. I mean, for example, there was a thing on our Fed site the other night where somebody said they're putting out overtime, and the overtime's being put out for 5 people, and nobody's taking that overtime up because basically they're just sick of it. So you're that one cop that's coming on duty who knows that you're that one cop there that's literally going to get hit with everything, including the kitchen sink. How do you feel before you walk through the door? You're demoralised even before you hit the ground. There was people the other day who were saying, I came in, I've done overtime, I was asked to do a 4 till 4 and did that 4 till 4. They asked me to stay until 7 and I just couldn't because I was too tired, and I felt utterly I felt awful because I had to leave, but I couldn't physically do any more. You've got people saying they're scared, they feel sick coming to work because they're literally walking in to workload, like job, not even time for a toilet break, not even time to shove a sandwich down your mouth. And it's just, it can't continue. People are breaking, and it's like it just can't continue, basically. It's just, yeah, it's from my point of view, I know obviously we have old sweats and you go, oh, it didn't used to be like this in my day and blah, blah, blah. But I have never known morale be so low. Like the force have done a cultural stock take recently, and the figures that have come back are ridiculous. Like 650 people responded, which is only like a third of the workforce, but like people putting negatives for everything. Putting negatives with regards to how you feel valued by the force, how you feel the public view you. So that should show really what's going to happen. And also, ultimately, if you come in and you're demoralised and knackered and you don't eat and you don't drink and you don't have a pee and you're going to try and be like go and deal with really high level stressful, it's like fatal road traffic accidents, burglaries, people falling out with each other, domestics, high risk domestics, you need to be rested and refreshed in order to be able to attack that from an appropriate angle, and we're just not, basically. Like, I've never known it where people just aren't interested in overtime, and no one is interested in overtime at the moment. They're literally like, I can't be bothered, because if I'm going to be the only staff member who's going to be on duty, then why would I then want to take and why would I only want to take one of those positions? So there's still going to be 2 of us. There should be 7 of us, but there's 2 of us. So you know you're going to walk into a situation which is just going to be, well, quite frankly, dangerous. And I feel like something major's got to happen before anybody takes note of basically what's happening within the force. So yeah, morale's key, and management is key. And at the moment, it's rock bottom, and no one seems to care, basically. So bottom level, there's absolutely no way I would join a force now for 27 grand and do what we're doing. Not a chance. If I could do my time, if I was starting now, I wouldn't join, basically, because what they're being asked to do now, I mean, when you go to domestic, there's like 6 pieces of paperwork in a domestic, and if you get one tiny thing wrong in that, then you're hauled in front of a serious case review for a dash pro forma that you did 3 years ago, and you're in front of a load of people having to justify. I call it the 9 o'clock shudder. So you should have done this and you should have done that. So a decision that you make at midnight when you've been on duty for 10 hours and you've not had a pee and a poo and you've not eaten and whatever, and you've not had 2 minutes to spare, is going to be looked at and pulled apart by everyone, including the kitchen sink, including the people from within our own camp, for years to come. And that's ridiculous. Like, I mean, for newbies, it's a massive issue in that they can't survive, basically. As I said earlier, people don't want overtime because they just don't. They'd rather have less money. And I can remember a time when I first started, people would, I'll have some overtime, I'll have a bit more of that. Yeah, I'll come in. I mean, obviously the changes in the overtime structure, so from double time, time and a half to like now time and a third, It's like, well, it's not worth getting out of bed for, basically. Yeah, I'm going to come in and pick another 10 on my workload up, have a load of shiz going on, and I'm going to get a load of abuse from people and possibly a few complaints and probably an injury. Yeah, you're not going to do it. So I think it's an aspect of it for lower end of the chain, but for upper end of the chain, I think it's more the pension side of it, and the working conditions. So I have got 2 children who are on the autism spectrum. I've got one who is nearly 14 in June, and I've got one who's 5. My 5-year-old is classed as profound needs. So I've so basically, yeah, I'm a carer and a part-time worker. So I work set shift pattern, which, to be fair to the force, has they've done and helped me with that. The only negative I would say is that it doesn't take it taken into account that I work a part-time shift pattern. I basically have to fit my full-time job into 30 hours a week, which at times is virtually impossible, and I almost have to make it work. So for part-time workers, like the force really struggles with, like, well, as a whole, police as a whole, you're seen almost as an irritant, you're seen as an issue, whereas I would pretty much say that, but I would say 90% of part-time workers work their asses off, but it's seen as an issue within, like, I would say the industry, not within the force as in general. But yeah, for me, it is really difficult at times, because it means that, like, I mean, I do meetings on my days off when I'm at home. So, like, if my team and I do this on an ad hoc basis for the force to make it work, basically, because I've been told by management, basically, if it doesn't work, then we could take that off you at any time, because obviously flexible working looks at every year. So I almost feel under a bit of pressure to make it work, and if it doesn't work, then I feel like I'm letting the team down, letting the force down, etc. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, my force links has come a long way with regards to carers and with regards to diversity within the force and stuff, because we were archaic, and in the past 2 years we've come round. But yeah, it is problematic how we fit in and how we make it work, basically. So we weren't represented at all. So basically, myself and another sergeant who who's now retired, basically were put together by he was a superintendent then, and we basically created the Carers Network in force, which to be honest, I am involved in, but I don't run it. And the reason why I don't run it, which is ironic, is the fact that because I'm part-time and I'm not given the hours in the day to be able to put time into that, I've had to basically withdraw to one side, because my work as an MPT sergeant doesn't go anywhere, and there's no one that fills that gap. So ultimately, if I spend all my time doing the carers stuff, I don't have enough time to do my core job, and then I'll be asked, well, why aren't you doing your core job? So the ironic thing is that I've set this network up with another sergeant for a while. For a good year and a bit, we ran it. He then left and said, Kelly, will you be chair? And I said, I can't. I can't do it. I said, I can't make it work. I said, if I become chair, then I take on the duties of being a chair, and ultimately that involves, to do it justice, needs a lot of work. So I've had to go to one side and say, actually, I can't do it, because my core work takes over, because because of the lack of staff within the force, there is nobody that can basically fill the gaps that I leave. So yeah, I've had to. Yeah, it was set up because we weren't represented. There was things happening within the force that basically weren't taken into account. Obviously, the legislation around carers, the legislation around part-time working, like people being dealt with really poorly when they were asking flexible working, and I just didn't like it, what was happening. So I went, we need to do something about it. So yeah, I set it up, but I'm now only involved in that I attend the meeting. I don't chair anything, which is, again, disappointing, to be honest. It consumes you. It literally consumes you. The amount of times my brother said to me, obviously don't discuss like per se work with him, but he's like, Kelly, you need to calm down. You need to stop worrying about it. I end up thinking every single day I'm going to get sacked for something, because I'm thinking, am I covering off enough? Have I risk assessed this enough? Have I done this? Like, obviously I deal with quite a few high risk ASB incidents. I was previously a domestic abuse officer before I was a sergeant, So the amount of high risk that I dealt with that, and I did that as a part-time worker. So but I was obviously issued high risk jobs, which I had to complete in 5 hours, which is difficult. Every day I come in and I'm like, I do think, when am I going to be served papers? When am I? And I don't particularly do anything particularly wrong, but there's a fear there, like the process, like the paperwork process now. I went out to a domestic a few weeks back because there was nobody else to go, and I honestly, the paperwork process absolutely blew my mind. The referrals that had to be put in, like you doing the crime report, then you're doing a PPM for the and obviously if they've been searched because there was a lad involved and they thought they had a weapon on him, so then you have to put a PPN, and then you have to refer to social services. Then you have to do all the process of referring them to all the domestic abuse charities, and there's all these different, like Hollyguard and all these different things you have to refer them to, and you have to justify it all. Like, everything is bum covering now. We're not policing anymore, we're arse covering constantly, and it just means that we don't do police work. All we do is basically we go to a job, we spend an hour doing paperwork afterwards, and then we go to the next job and we don't police. We literally deal with everything else but policing. We're social workers, we're like counsellors, we're fire, we're everything. We're mental health workers. We do right person, right care in our force, whereby we push back onto like other agencies. However, we're still spending hours and hours and hours in A&E with people. So I spent, when I was the community beat manager at Horncastle, there was a day when I was in A&E with a lady who thrown herself into a river, and I spent 10 hours with her, and on that day there was 4 sets of police officers all sat in A&E with. Now it's just ridiculous. I think people are getting fatigued, like emotional fatigued with regards to stuff, and they're getting basically because of the amount of stress we're under, and the amount of the amount of, I mean, we deal with the most traumatic incidents constantly, and having that constantly in your life, it blatantly has mental health connotations on everyone. I'm seeing officers now and sergeants now who I would never have thought would be really struggling, and I'm starting to see them struggle. I just don't know what the answer. I mean, the number situation is one of the answers, in that we need numbers. Ultimately, the 14 years that the government wiped out half the officers has just been horrendous. So we're living on our nerves constantly. Like last year, 2023, I was told, right, we need to go from 99 PCSOs to 50. You're in charge of making people redundant. And I'm like, what? Like, why is that not a HR process? So we had to, as sergeants at that point in time, do justifications on why we should keep certain officers and why we should get rid of. Literally, all the MPT sergeants who I spoke to in my own before, we all lost sleep, because we're having to make people redundant based, like people who've got mortgages, who've got families, and we're having to work out the wheat from the chaff as to who we want to make redundant. I made somebody redundant who had literally come into the force in October of 2022 as a PCSO, and they were told in January they were going to be made redundant. So within 4 months, and I had to then deliver the message in May of that year. Yeah, your job's gone. Police job, then you're gone, basically. And that literally had a massive impact on me, because it's like, well, I never thought I'd have to come in and make people redundant. Then we're living in fear. Literally, we're living in fear of, we'll do something a teeny tiny bit wrong. We can't be robust. I've seen so much body-worn footage with officers where, when I first started, you could be robust with people, and I'm still robust because that's me. I'm not changing how I am, basically. Where officers are literally frightened of putting hands on, like saying anything to them, because they're scared of complaints and scared of getting served papers, and we're living under that constantly. Officers are literally, I mean, apart from the number situation, where we've, like, the other day there was a thing on our Fed Facebook page where basically people are like, I'm going to jobs and I know my backup's 30 minutes away. So we're having to use different tactics of what we would usually use, because we know we can't get into a scrap with this person, because if we get into a scrap with this person, then So we're getting complete disrespect from public because they know full well they can cause whatever they want, basically, and we can't do a thing about it. Officers, literally, the body worn that I've seen recently, because obviously I have to look at some incidents within my job role, I've never seen anything like it. Literally, officers are absolutely petrified of putting hands on now, and they're petrified of what they say to people. And because of that, criminals are aware, nominals are aware of that, and they're taking the mick out of us, basically, because people are absolutely petrified of what's going to happen and also getting injured, because we feel completely not supported as well. Like, if we do get injured, it's like a lot of the cases that go through the courts at the moment, we're in the media, we see them and it's like, oh, so and so and so and so has assaulted somebody. But I was talking to my officer today about one. Oh, some lad went to court, he's severely injured 2 officers, but he got suspended. So we're like, so the judicial system is completely, so there is an attitude of, what's the point? Ultimately, why? I'm going to be honest, from my point of view, I used to carry a taser, don't carry a taser anymore, because I'm like, I'm not carrying a taser, because ultimately the amount of focus that's on it, and it's just not worth it. And also, I'm not blue light trained, because I went, nope, keep me as a standard driver, I'll be a standard driver, I'm not interested in being blue light trained, because again, the scrutiny that's on officers regards to blue lights. So yeah, people are backing off and not doing as much because they're petrified of what's going to happen if they do put hands on, and they're petrified of getting injured, because ultimately if they get injured and their career's over, that's on them, and the court system won't give them a decent sentence anyway. So I'm going to be honest, there's a huge amount of officers now we have restricted within the force due to injury on duty. I mean, why would you come and be a cop, like, when you can go and work in a, like, I mean, my husband works for the Welsh government and earns the same amount as me, and he's got far less risk than I have. And it's like, so why would you? Why would you bother? Far less scrutiny, better working environment. I mean, agile working is something that police really need to look into. Why would you do it? Like, if you're a bin man, like, why would you come in? Like I said, if I was a new cop now, I wouldn't do it. I literally would be like, nope, not going to bother. I'm not going to live on the breadline, get 7 balls kicked out of me, get no support from within my ranks, outside my ranks, from the public, from the IOPC, another matter, from the IOPC, from like PSD. I mean, PSD cases, months and months and months. Cops are like 2 years, like some cases taking 2 years to even get to the the case competency thing at the end. If I there's no way I'd join. I would just be like, nah, I'll go and work for a council, or I'll go and be a train driver and then 60k. Like, why would you put yourself on the street, like, work nights, work shifts? I can be a train driver, I can do shifts during the day and then 60 grand. Why would I bother? You come in, you do your job, you're knackered, so you go home, you're worried, you come back in again, you work your ass off, you go home, you're knackered, and it's a constant cycle of that. You can't get leave, so not particularly me, but I know you can't get leave because there's no officers to cover it. So you can't get leave time. When you are on duty, the amount of times you're extended is unreal, and you're doing extra stuff. When you do come in, there's no officers. So even like from an MPT point of view, if I do a drugs warrant, I know there's no CID there. 9 times out of 10, there's no CID there to pick the crap up. So I've had like 16-hour days doing when it's not my job. It's not ultimately. I'm part of that system, but it's not ultimately my job to completely do a drug warrant from start to finish. Yeah, it's just people are just. I don't know why now people would join, because like our system for response here is 4 on 4 off, and they do 4 12-hour shifts, but it's never a 12-hour shift. It's you sit in with 14, 15 hours. Your first rest day is completely written off because you're coming off nights and you're knacked. Your next day you feel like you've gone out and had 10 pints, but you've not had 10 pints. And then you sort of get back to normal on the third day, and then your fourth day and you're back. So it's like there is no, and we're not being given leave, but there's people who've carried over 50 hours worth of annual leave who are being told basically, yeah, we haven't got, and you can't take it. You come in, you don't have you've got no time for a wee, you've got no time to eat, you've got no time to decompress from big jobs. You go home, you sit and think about those jobs, because any bit that's done is lying, and then you're worrying about them. I go home and worry about jobs, and I think, God, why didn't I make sure that was? And the amount of times I've come home and gone, oh, I just need to send an email because I've that job, and I need to make sure that that's covered and da da da. So you think about it all the time. So yeah, there is no work-life balance. It's just the job. The amount of cops that just get completely consumed is unreal. I mean, I'm going to be honest. When we got things like, so I'm in the area that got SPP. So when we got things like SPP, I'm going to be honest, sickness rates were way lower than they are now, because it was a little bit of incentive when you felt a bit poo. Oh, I'll come in because I might get my SPP at the end of the year. So things like SPP, the things like the rent allowance and things like that, like all the stuff that came with when I became a cop 18 years ago, needs to be brought back in, because there's no incentive there. There's nothing. I mean, like I spoke earlier about the overtime rates, time and a third. Like, no, I bet there needs to be a rise in the basic level of salary for a start. The basic level needs to rise because it's just ridiculous. We need more of us. We need more. There needs to be. We need to. I mean, it's all right them saying, "Oh, you're back to levels that in 2010 were brilliant." We've lost loads and loads of people who had loads and loads of skill. So now we're basically rebuilding, because obviously we're bringing people in who, yeah, decent people, but haven't got the skill set. As I said, the pension situation, absolutely diabolical. That has made a lot of people go earlier, because basically they've gone, oh, well, I'm not going to say anything. People who would have stayed have gone, I'm scared that they're going to change the pension again, so I'm going to go at 55, I'm going to go at 60. People that would have stayed longer are going, no, I'm out, I'm not interested anymore. So yeah, I mean, the funding formula is changing. It's absolutely, for my force particularly, the funding formula doesn't make any sense. Like, we border with Grimsby, and Grimsby, so this is an example. So in Lincolnshire, there are 65 or 66 community beat managers for the whole of Lincolnshire. There are 38 PCSOs for the whole of Lincolnshire, and Lincolnshire's a big county. In Grimsby, there is 68 PCSOs and 68 CBMs for just the Grimsby area. So it's split in two. So there's a Grimsby area and there's the South Bank and the North Bank. There's a Grimsby area. So they've got 130 odd officers for one particular area, and we've got not even that for the whole county. That's insane, basically. And it's like, I had an officer from Grimsby come to a thing that we did, like a crime prevention thing, and they were like, well, what are you going to do? I went, well, I'm doing what I can. I've got, for my area, which is hundreds of square miles, I've got two community beat managers and one PCSO. So with that, I'm scratching the surface of what I can do. So the funding formula is drastically changing. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, how many years are we in now? I'm 18 years in, and we've been talking about this funding formula for 18 years, and still nothing changes. But it suits the government, because basically it means they don't have to look at it, they don't have to deal with it, and it probably means less money. So they don't want to do that, basically. So yeah, don't join. It really disheartens me to say that, because ultimately I'm from a policing family. But I would, if my son turned around to me and said, well, I don't think they ever would, but if my child said to me, I want to join, I would do everything in my power to dissuade them, because it's just not worth it. You can earn more in the public sector, in the private sector. You've got less stress, better work-life balance. You're not scrutinised as much. Like, I mean, the judiciary system needs a complete overhaul at the moment, because it's completely working against us. You just feel attacked from every angle at the moment, and it's like, I would honestly, don't join. Don't. It isn't worth it. Go and find a private sector job. Go and be a train driver, or work in a council, or do something else, because the risks outweigh the positives now. And it's like, I'm going to be honest, the reason I'm still in, because ultimately there's still a bit of me that wants to help people. But even, I sat the other day and said to my other half, I said to him, I said, I don't know how this is going to get any better. And it's like, and he turned around to me and said, I think you should go at 55, because I think you need to do something that's positive, and everything that you do in your work is negative. And I couldn't disagree with him, because he said, you're so demoralised with it. And it's like, every day, Good Morning Britain comes on every day, and every day they're having a pop at or 99% of the time, like 4 days out of 5 in a week, there's something about police and how police are doing this wrong and that wrong and the other. And the amount of times I shout at the TV, and my boss like, they can't hear you, Kelly. I'm like, yeah, but they don't understand. It's like they're talking from a point of view where they don't understand, basically. So yeah, I would say no, and that's really sad.